This shocking truth happened when a millionaire's girlfriend saw a black homeless boy at midnight. The moon hung high in the ebony sky, casting a silver glow over the glimmering city. Streets that were normally packed with life lay eerily quiet, as if the world held its breath. It was at this witching hour that Jessica, a millionaire's girlfriend with a heart filled with dreams and designer bags, took a late-night stroll. Little did she know that the man who cherished her laughter had just stepped into a world far darker than the night itself. Suddenly, beneath the flickering streetlight, she spotted him, a boy, no more than a child, sitting cross-legged on the cold concrete. His skin was a deep, rich shade of ebony, contrasting sharply against the shabbiness of his worn clothes. An old knit cap barely covered his tangled hair. Jessica's heart twisted. Why was he out here alone? It felt wrong, so very wrong. It wasn't just the sight of him, it was the haunting look in his eyes that sent shivers down her spine. She glided closer, noticing a scrappy backpack beside him. The boy clutched a ragged teddy bear with an eye missing, as if it were the last remnant of a happier past. The silence echoed between them. Her chest tightened, a lump formed in her throat. Was he cold? Hungry? Her pulse quickened, and she wondered what had driven him to this abyss of loneliness. Was he lost, or was there deeper suffering? As she knelt down, the boy met her gaze, and in that fleeting moment, the world around them faded away. Jessica felt an electric current, a connection that pierced through her designer facade and the glow of her luxurious life. What could someone like her really know of his pain? The thrill of his existence dwarfed the shallow sparkle of her diamond earrings that twinkled in the light. Jessica. The voice of her boyfriend, Marcus, broke through the silence, echoing off the nearby buildings. She recoiled, her breath hitching in her throat. How would he react? Would he understand? Or would he scorn this moment, this connection that had captured her heart? Panic flooded her, but something deeper stirred within. This was more than a simple encounter. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As she turned back to the boy, a jagged thought struck her. What if this moment could shift everything? The world beyond her reached into her soul, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the haunting shadows. She could help, couldn't she? Maybe this tiny act of kindness would ripple outwards, stirring change in a universe that felt frozen in place. But just as she began to ask him his name, the boy stood abruptly, eyes wide with fear, staring towards the alley behind her. Help, he cried, voice cracking. Jessica whipped around, heart racing. What was coming out of the darkness? Her heart hammered in her chest, breathless anticipation clawing at her insides. Who or what lurked in the shadows, waiting to shatter this moment of fragile connection? The air grew thick with tension, and she could almost taste the mystery swirling around them. This was just the beginning. A figure emerged, draped in the shadows, intense and menacing. Jessica squinted, her heart pounding as she tried to make out details. The streetlight flickered again, illuminating the tall, broad silhouette. It was a man, his face half hidden in darkness, but his presence radiated danger. Get away from him! Marcus shouted as he rushed towards them, his voice fierce enough to split the silence. Jessica felt a jolt of panic. Would her boyfriend recognize the urgency in her eyes? Would he shield her from the boy's harsh reality or unleash judgment instead? The boy shrank back, clutching the teddy bear tighter, his breath rapid, like a trapped animal cornered by fate. Please, go. He begged, his eyes darting between Marcus and the approaching figure. Jessica instinctively reached out for him, but hesitation froze her hand. The man stepped into the light, revealing a scarred face and a predatory grin. "What do we have here?" he taunted, his voice smooth yet laced with malice. "A rich girl playing the hero? This is my domain." Fear coiled tightly around Jessica's throat. "Please, he's just a child," she spoke softly, desperate to defuse the tension. "Can't you just— You don't know a thing about him," the man interrupted, a glimmer of amusement dancing in his eyes. "He's got a past, just like me. If you think a pretty face can save him, you are dead wrong." Marcus stepped in front of Jessica, eyes burning with protective fury. "Back off." His voice was a growl, and the air crackled with the impending clash. The man chuckled, unfazed, almost enjoying the confrontation. "Ah, the White Knight. But tell me, aren't you just as lost in your fancy life? The rich boy playing savior? Pathetic." The word sliced through the night air, a reminder of the invisible barriers between them. The boy trembled beside Jessica, a raw vulnerability reflecting in his gaze. She could feel the weight of his fears, an icy grip tightening around her heart. It became clear that saving him wasn't just a simple act, it was a gamble against a world indifferent to suffering. She kneeled again, drawing closer to the boy. "You're not alone," she whispered, her voice unwavering despite the chaos. "We'll figure this out together." In that moment, something shifted. The boy's eyes softened as the flicker of hope ignited within him. Jessica realized he was more than just a child in the abyss, he was a warrior, fighting his own battles. Marcus's gaze flicked between her and the man, tension crackling like static. The man looked ready to pounce, and chaos threatened to erupt any second. But then, a siren wailed in the distance, echoing through the silent streets, and the man's face twisted with alarm. "You think you won?" he sneered, glancing one last time at them before disappearing back into the darkness, leaving nothing but lingering dread in his wake. Jessica's heart didn't rest easy. The threat had seemingly evaporated, but she knew they weren't done. In that fleeting encounter, the shadows behind her boyfriend's protective stance began to unfurl. What had the man meant by the boy's past? What darkness still loomed? Who was that? Marcus demanded, eyeing the darkened alley with suspicion. Jessica shook her head, her instincts honed. "That's not the issue. We need to help him. He's in danger." Looking at the boy, she saw not just his fear but the flicker of resilience. Was she ready to step further into this abyss with him? The stakes had just risen. Suddenly, the boy whispered, voice trembling. "He's coming back." He always does. What lay ahead was uncertain, but Jessica felt the weight of destiny pulling her into the depths of the unknown. What would it take to confront the truth, and how far was she willing to go to protect him? As the sirens faded, a new urgency wrapped around her. This was only the beginning, and the shadows had only just started to stir. The alley fell silent, but the air vibrated with an unspoken tension. Jessica glanced at Marcus, his jaw set tight, eyes scanning the darkness where the man had vanished. The boy beside her trembled, clutching the teddy bear as if it were a lifeline. "What do we do?" Marcus whispered, glancing nervously back at the entrance of the alley. "We can't just leave him here." Jessica caught the boy's gaze, which flickered with a mix of fear and defiance. "We need to find somewhere safe. Away from here." Was it crazy to hope? Suddenly, a sharp rattling noise echoed from the shadows. Jessica's heart skipped a beat, adrenaline pumping through her veins. A crack in the silence, just before the boy spoke again. "You don't understand. He'll find me. He always does." His voice trembled, an edge of desperation creeping in. "Who?" Marcus pressed, leaning closer to the boy. "Who will find you?" The boy hesitated, biting his lip. "Rico. He says I belong to him. I can't go back." Tears glistened in his eyes, raw and honest, and they tore at Jessica's heart. "Listen, Jessica said softly, kneeling to his level. "You're not alone in this. We'll help you. But we need to understand what we're up against." With a deep breath, the boy finally spilled his truths, words tumbling like marbles from a tipped jar. "Rico's bad. He finds kids like me. Takes them away when nobody's looking. He said I'm his, and if I run, he'll hurt me, or worse." Both Marcus and Jessica felt the chill creep into their bones at the boy's words. "What do you mean by worse?" Marcus demanded, the shock hardening the urgency in his voice. The boy shook his head, shaking off the thought, fear etched across his features. "I don't want to say. I have to hide. They couldn't leave him. Not now. Not with this new threat hovering over them." Jessica looked at Marcus, searching for a plan. "We need to get him away from here. We'll take him somewhere safe. A shelter, anything." Marcus ran a hand through his hair, frustration and helplessness building. "But what if Rico's out looking? What if he sees us?" The boy's grip on the teddy bear tightened even more, his whole body trembling. "He'll know. He can always find me." A shadow flickered at the edge of the alley, and Jessica's heart raced. Just as she was about to voice a warning, a figure stepped into the dim light. It was a woman, her clothes torn, eyes wild with fear. "Please. Help me," she cried, her voice crackling with panic. Jessica's instincts fired like a starter gun. "What happened?" "He's coming for us. Rico." The woman's voice rose in intensity. "You have to hide him. They'll take him, too." "Who else?" Marcus demanded, looking between the trembling boy and the wild-eyed woman. Each heartbeat felt heavy with dread. "More kids. He's hunting them." The woman's breath came in ragged gasps, as if the truth weighed her down. Reality began to sharpen into focus for Jessica, ice-cold and unforgiving. Rico wasn't just a threat to one boy, he was a predator with a taste for vulnerability. "Get back!" the woman screamed, pointing into the darkness. Jessica whipped around, heart racing. A shadow materialized at the alley's mouth, the same scarred smile she had seen just moments before. "Time's up," the man's voice echoed, smooth and lethal. "You thought you'd get away?" The boy gasped, and in that second, time froze. The threat loomed larger, enveloping them in an unyielding grip. "Run!" Marcus yelled, adrenaline flooding his words, but would it be enough? As they turned to flee, the sound of footsteps thundering behind them shattered the night closing in. The walls of the alley felt like they were closing as tension gripped every nerve in Jessica's body. What had they stumbled into? The chase was on, but too many questions remained. Would they escape Rico's clutches? Or had they unwittingly stepped deeper into a trap where danger awaited every turn? The darkness of the alley swallowed them as they sprinted, Jessica's breath coming in panic-stricken bursts. Every step felt like a lifetime, each heartbeat a reminder that Rico was right behind them. "Over there!" Marcus shouted, veering toward a narrow space between two dumpsters. It was a squeeze, but the boy was small enough to slip through. With a quick look back, Jessica pushed him ahead, urging him to crawl into the cramped hiding spot. They could hear footsteps again, closer this time. "Get in, hurry!" Jessica whispered breathlessly, shoving Marcus forward after the boy. She hesitated, peering back into the alley. The man's silhouette loomed larger, his menacing smile unmistakable against the dim light. Was that a knife glinting in his hand? "Go!" Marcus hissed, urgency etched in his voice as he shoved Jessica into the hiding place. They all bunched together, the stench of garbage overwhelming, mixed with a sense of sheer desperation. The footsteps grew louder. Jessica held her breath, fighting against the tightness in her chest as the shadows moved closer. Peering through a crack in the dumpster, she could see Rico prowling the alley like a wolf on the hunt. Where are you? He hissed, the whisper chilling. You can't hide forever. The boy trembled beside her, holding the teddy bear as though it could shield him. Jessica felt a surge of protectiveness. It was maddening to think that someone could prey on innocence like this. Shush, she whispered to the boy, placing a finger over her lips. They clung to each other, hearts racing as they listened to the echoes of Rico searching. Suddenly, a loud crash rang out as the man kicked over a trash can, sending its contents spilling across the ground. I'll find you. He roared, his voice breaking through the stillness. Terror coursed through Jessica, tightening her grip on the boy's shoulder. What if he really did find them? Minutes dragged by, each second a relentless reminder of their perilous situation. Just as Jessica thought her lungs would burst, the footsteps began to fade. Perhaps he was moving on, losing interest. Her heartbeat began to stabilize, and she dared to glance around the dumpster. Is he gone? She whispered, barely knowing if she wanted the answer. Marcus peered out beside her, eyes scanning the alley. I think so. Maybe we should wait a bit longer. No. The boy insisted, his voice cracking. We have to leave now. He'll come back. His insistence sent ice down Jessica's spine. This wasn't just a game for him. Okay. She assured him, the panic rising again. But we have to be smart. They peeked out together, the alley now eerie and quiet. Rico's form had vanished, leaving only shadows. With determination swelling in her chest, Jessica took a deep breath. We need to run, she said, her voice steady. Marcus nodded, and they emerged from their hideout cautiously. The boy's little hand wrapped firmly around her fingers, and together they began to dart toward the back of the alley and toward the street, but as they reached the edge of the alley, a horrifying scream shattered the stillness. Help me. It was the woman's voice, fading into despair. The echo of panic jerked them to a halt. Jessica's heart dropped. They were no longer being hunted, they had walked straight into chaos. Fear knotted tight in her gut again. Marcus grimaced, looking back at her with dread in his eyes. Should they go help? Or keep running and save themselves? The boy's voice trembled. We can't leave her. Jessica hesitated, caught in the vice of uncertainty. Each choice could mean life or death. The cries echoed again, mixed with the unmistakable sound of a struggle. Jessica's instinct screamed at her to act, but Rico could return at any moment. Now. Marcus urged, pulling at her arm. And then, without thinking, she made her choice. Let us go. As the screaming faded, a shadow lurked at the mouth of the alley, the unmistakable silhouette of Rico, eyes blazing with anger. Did you think you could escape? He shouted, his voice slicing through the night air. The chase had only begun. What awaited them on the other side of that choice? The alley seemed to stretch endlessly as they bolted towards the mouth of the street. Jessica's heart raced, each thud echoing in her ears like a war drum. The reflection of the streetlights danced on the sidewalk, but they didn't seem to bring any comfort. The looming shadow of Rico had ignited a fire of raw fear that fueled their flight. Faster. She urged, as she felt the boy's grip tighten around her hand. Marcus was just behind, his breathing harsh, desperation etched on his small face. The panic was palpable. Every corner they turned, every breath of wind seemed to whisper danger. Where do we go? Marcus gasped, eyes wide with fright. Just keep running. Jessica replied, glancing back. Rico was gaining, monstrous and relentless, cutting through the darkness like a knife. His laugh twisted into a shrill sound that pierced her resolve. You'll regret this. They sprinted into a busy street filled with late-night traffic, headlights illuminating the asphalt, casting long shadows. Jessica pulled Marcus to the side, ducking behind a parked car, hoping the chaos would mask their presence. She could feel the heat of panic seeping into every nerve. Are we safe? Marcus whispered, clutching the teddy bear to his chest like a lifeline. Jessica held her breath, waiting to see if Rico would enter the fray of cars, searching. She squeezed Marcus's hand, trying to rid the quiver in her voice. I don't know yet. Just stay quiet. Moments felt like hours, heartbeats echoing the dread that filled their minds. They hunched low, mere shadows clinging against the metal of the car, listening as the world outside buzzed with life. Sirens wailed in the distance, followed by the laughter of oblivious partygoers just a block away. Meanwhile, Rico's voice floated through the air, taunting, "You can't hide from me. I'll find you." Time hung heavy around them, suffocating. Jessica's thoughts raced. What if he gets someone else involved? What if she cut off her spiraling thoughts, focusing instead on Marcus? She had to keep him safe. Look, she whispered, pointing toward the streetlight that flickered above them. If we can get to that side, we can lose him in the crowd. With a nod, Marcus steeled himself. Just as they prepared to move, a loud crash reverberated through the street. A car accident. Jessica flinched as headlights swarmed around them, illuminating every corner of darkness. They exchanged a glance, with uncertainty creeping back in. Then, suddenly, a high-pitched cry pierced the air near the accident scene. A woman. Help. The helplessness in her voice struck Jessica. Please, someone. Her heart twisted as if caught in a vice. Do they help again? Overhead, the flickering streetlight cast ghostly shadows all around them. Rico could be lurking close, but what if they could save her? Only this time, it wasn't just Jessica's life on the line. Marcus stared up at her, fear in his eyes. We have to save her, Jess. We can't leave her. The boy's innocence chilled her to the bone. She was torn between two horrors, facing the danger of Rico or risking everything to save a stranger. With one deep breath, she made her choice again. Okay, but we need to be quick and quiet. As they crept closer to the accident, a figure emerged from the swirling chaos, a man in a hood, shoving past the crowd. Don't let him see us. Jessica hissed, but it was too late. Rico came barreling through, rage twisted into a snarled grin. Found you. The chase was no longer a teasing game but a desperate fight for survival. Would they make it out alive? Would they save the woman? The street's heartbeat quickened, and so did theirs. Time was running out. Adrenaline surged through Jessica as Rico's menacing figure loomed closer. Run! She shouted, gripping Marcus's hand tighter. They darted into the chaos of the street, weaving through startled pedestrians who had been blissfully ignorant just moments ago. The sound of sirens wailed hauntingly in the background, a chilling reminder of how fragile their safety was. What do we do? Marcus cried out, stumbling slightly. Focus, Marcus. Just keep moving. Jessica insisted, her heart racing even faster than their feet could carry them. They ducked behind a hot dog vendor, the smell of grilled meat mixed with the metallic tang of fear and urgency. She risked a glance behind them. Rico was close, too close. His laughter mingled with the crash of the city, and it cooled her blood. Jessica. Marcus pulled at her sleeve. We can't leave the woman. She needs us. I know. But we have to be alive to help her, Jessica replied urgently. The boy's insistence was a dagger twisting into her conscience. Suddenly, a frantic scream pealed through the air. Please, help. The words fell like a dark cloud over the chaotic street. Jessica's resolve started to break down. Marcus, we need to find cover. She spotted an open storefront nearby, a convenience store, with flickering lights casting eerie shadows on the ground. Go! She yelled, propelling them forward as they sprinted towards it. Inside, the fluorescent lights hummed, stark against the darkness outside. It was empty, save for a few shelves half filled with snacks. Jessica urged Marcus to duck low behind a rack of chips. Both of them peered through the glass door. Breathless, Rico stumbled into view, looking frantic as he searched the scattering crowd. His demeanor shifted from hunter to something darker, more violent. He was no longer just seeking them, he was enraged. Each curse word that escaped his lips twisted in Jessica's stomach like a gut punch. "How can we get out?" Marcus whispered, eyes wide with terror. "We wait," Jessica breathed, trying to control the tremor in her voice. Yet, with every passing second, Rico's fury carved a deeper fear into her heart. Outside, the woman was still screaming, pleading for help, clutching her leg beneath a toppled car. Jessica's heart shattered as she imagined the sheer panic and pain she must be feeling. "Just hold on," Jessica whispered, the helplessness clawing at her. "Please don't give up." As Rico's figure drifted closer, Jessica fought against her inherent desire to comfort the woman, her thoughts warping into a haze of impossible choices. Suddenly, the door to the convenience store burst open. A security guard, toting a flashlight, stammered inside. "What is going on?" His voice was shaky, but he seemed ready to help. "Please, she's in trouble outside," Jessica urged, her voice fierce with desperation. The guard turned to the door, and Jessica's heart raced. Would he take charge and help? But in that moment, Rico burst past the crowd, his eyes wild with vengeance. "Oh no!" Marcus gasped, clutching Jessica's arm as though she could somehow shield him from the chaos unfurling outside. The security guard froze, recognizing the threat as Rico charged toward them, unyielding. "Get back!" Jessica screamed, pushing Marcus behind her. Her muscles tensed, ready to defend. Rico's gaze burned with fury, a tempest about to be unleashed. "You thought you could escape? You're mine." Time itself seemed to stop as the two sides collided in a storm of emotions and intentions. No longer a simple chase, but a battle for survival, one that would determine not just their fate but the fate of the woman still crying for help. Would Jessica and Marcus manage to break free, or would fear seal their fates? As Rico advanced, the stakes escalated. What was the real danger waiting just beyond the door? And in that frozen moment, all choices swirled like a storm, blinding, terrifying, and with consequences that echoed beyond their darkest imaginings. Panic surged through Jessica like wildfire. As Rico bore down on them, the air thick with tension, she felt every heartbeat drumming in her ears. Marcus clung to her side, eyes wide and searching. The guard snapped back into motion, raising his flashlight and aiming it at Rico. "Back off!" he shouted. The sound rang out across the chaos, cutting through the fear like a dagger. But Rico merely smiled, that horrific grin splitting his face. "You think you can save them?" he taunted, his voice like gravel. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Jessica's heart raced as she weighed their options. This was it, here was their chance to fight back or flee. Her instincts screamed at her to run, but what about the woman outside? Each scream echoed in her mind, a siren pulling her back to the raw truth of their situation. With a swift movement, Rico shoved the guard aside, sending him sprawling into a pile of chips. Jessica's heart sank. They had to act, and fast. A shudder of fear coursed through her as she turned to Marcus. "We need to distract him." "What?" Marcus blinked at her, confusion painted on his face. "Just trust me," she insisted, adrenaline sparking a fierce determination. "When I say go, create a diversion. I'll loop around to hit him from the other side. We can't let him hurt anyone else." "No." The guard groaned as he struggled to his feet. "It's too dangerous." "Rico." Jessica's voice rose, spilling out with defiance. "You're just a coward." Rico's gaze snapped to her, irritation igniting in his stormy eyes. "Don't you dare now!" she shouted. Marcus hurled a can of soda toward Rico, the tin smashing against the wall nearby with a loud crack. The sudden sound broke the tension, redirecting Rico's awareness just as Jessica launched toward the side door, Praying it wasn't locked, she sprinted into the alley just as the guard tried to tackle Rico. A crash followed. Heart pounding, she pushed herself faster. A mess of shadows danced along the damp pavement, illuminated sporadically by flickering streetlights. Suddenly, the woman's cries cut through the haze. "Help me! Please!" Panic sliced through Jessica's resolve. "Just hold on." Jessica shouted back, darting toward the danger, her pulse hammering with every frantic step. Could she really save the woman? Marcus dashed after her, eyes wide with fear. "What are you doing? We need to get out of here." "It's not safe," she urged, gripping his wrist. "But if we leave her," a crash echoed through the alley, and a sickening sense of dread spiraled inside her. Had the guard failed? "Jessica!" Marcus hissed, pulling on her arm. "We have to go." She glanced back. A glint of something silver caught her eye, the handle of a knife, dropped unnoticed among the cobblestones. Inspiration struck like lightning. "Marcus, stay close," she instructed, kneeling to retrieve the knife, adrenaline mingling with fear as she gripped it tightly. Her heart raced at the thought of using it, but it was the only option. Rico's heavy footsteps thundered behind them, filling the space with an overwhelming sense of dread. Would they make it out in time? She took a deep breath, steeling herself to confront the danger head-on. Behind her, the security guard shouted in panic, but Jess couldn't focus on that now. "We're not leaving her," she declared, adrenaline firing her resolve like a beacon in the dark. As Rico staggered into view, anger that radiated off him like heat waves, Jessica felt the blade nestled in her palm, and suddenly knew what she had to do. The moment of confrontation was upon her. Would fear overshadow courage? Or could a single act of defiance turn the tide in favor of life, before the darkness engulfed them all? The moment Jessica's eyes met Rico's, a thunderous decision echoed in her mind. He loomed like a dark cloud, his monstrous figure blocking the light of escape. Fear coursed through her, weaving tightly with an unquenchable fire of resolve. "Get back!" she shouted, knife brandished. Her hand trembled, but she wouldn't let him see her fear. "Stay away from her." Rico's laugh bounced off the brick walls in a derisive cackle, as if he found her defiance amusing. He took a step closer, fists clenched, thick veins pulsing against his taut skin. "You think that little toy can save you?" His eyes glinted with menace, like a predator closing in on its prey. "Don't move!" she cried, her voice cracking but steadying again. She didn't know how much longer she could hold him off. The woman's cries intensified, each one a stab to her chest. Rico halted, tilting his head with mock curiosity. "Are you really willing to play hero tonight, girl?" He took another step, shadows bending around him. "You know what happens to heroes in this world, they end up like that security guard." Jessica's heart tightened as her gaze flickered back, sensing movement behind Rico. The guard lay groaning, face pale against the litter of chips and broken bottles. If only he could pull himself up, they could have a chance, but right now, it was just her and Marcus against the monster. "Rico, just let her go." Marcus's voice echoed, mixing fear with anger. He stepped forward, beside her, eyes darting from Rico to Jessica and back. "This is stupid, Jess. We need to leave now." "No!" she shouted, louder now, steeling her thoughts against his panic. "I can't let him hurt anyone else. We have to save her." Rico laughed again, the kind of laugh that chilled her to the bone. "Oh, I love it when they fight. It makes the hunt so much more interesting." This was it. With every ounce of courage she could muster, Jessica charged forward, knife raised, ready to dive past Rico, hoping against hope that he wouldn't be quick enough to react. She screamed, "Get out of the way!" But in one fluid motion, Rico pivoted, his hand shooting out, and grabbed her wrist. Pain flared as he twisted her arm, forcing the blade towards her own side. "Pathetic," he hissed, eyes narrowing dangerously. You thought you could outsmart me? I'm not just some thug. Marcus lunged, throwing himself at Rico. The impact sent them both crashing against the alley wall, a cacophony of heavy thuds echoing through the tension-laden air. Jessica, run! Marcus yelled, grappling with Rico, struggling for control. She hesitated, torn between leaping into the fray and finding safety. Then, the woman outside shrieked again, desperate. Jessica couldn't abandon her. Gathering herself, she launched toward the sound, fear propelling her forward. She glimpsed streetlights splaying eerie pools of light on the pavement and the figures still shrouded in shadow ahead. As she neared the brick wall housing the woman's cries, something stopped her. A flash of movement flickered in her peripheral vision, and she spun to find Rico untangling himself from Marcus, his fury escalating. Instinct kicked in, and she sprinted to the side of the building, searching for a way into the scene of absolute chaos. There had to be anything that could turn the tide. What are you doing? Marcus yelled, but the ground felt slick beneath her, danger looming closer with every heartbeat. Desperation boiled over. Jessica. As she pressed around the corner, the sight ahead sent her heart plummeting. The path stretched dark and narrowed until it curved into a dead end. No escape. Just then, she noticed a foggy figure pulling against a tangle of trash bags. The rags and grime pulled away to reveal a terrified face. Jessica's heart thudded. There was the woman, eyes wide and pleading in the dusk. But in that split second, tension coiled anew as Rico's shadow loomed behind her, the echo of his terrible laughter sending a chill down her spine. It was a moment of clarity. She could either turn toward this confrontation or run. Run, Jessica! Marcus's shout wailed through the night, breaking through the paralyzing grip of fear. The decision was made. Now, it was either salvation or demise. Would they escape, or would darkness consume them all? Jessica's breath hitched, her mind racing as the enormity of her choices crashed over her like a tidal wave. Rico's chuckle rumbled behind her, mocking her indecision. The woman at her feet, she was so close, yet so far away. Stop this, Rico! Jessica shouted, forcing her voice to remain strong. Every nerve in her body ignited with the rush of adrenaline. She turned back to face him, her eyes narrowed, knife still clutched tightly despite the pain radiating through her arm. You really think you can save her? He taunted, his eyes glinting with sadistic pleasure, the weight of his menace almost palpable. You're just a scared little girl in a dark alley. But she wasn't scared anymore. No, this was about more than just fear. She was done playing his twisted game. With a swift motion, she tore her wrist free, the pain sharp but fleeting. The knife glinted in the low light, and for a moment, everything felt still, as if time itself was holding its breath. Get away from her. Marcus's voice crunched through the tension like glass underfoot, his struggle with Rico intensifying. The sound of their fight sent Jessica's heart racing with a mixture of hope and dread. Rico, momentarily distracted, turned his focus toward Marcus, letting out a low growl. You think you can protect her? You're just another name on my list. Without thinking, Jessica lunged. She didn't know whether she could penetrate the dark fog of Rico's shadow, but she believed she had to try. The knife sliced through the air, aimed at the exposed flesh of his arm. But Rico was quicker than she anticipated. With an effortless swipe, he parried her attack, sending her spinning to the ground. Instinctively, he kicked her aside, and she tumbled into the nearby trash, its stench wrapping around her. Pain erupted through her side, but she ignored it. Pathetic attempt, he taunted, his eyes glinting. You should be thanking me for sparing you. Fear twisted in her gut, but she pushed herself up, defiance flooding her veins. You think this is over? She shouted, forcing herself to her feet, using the wall for leverage. The woman, still trapped beneath the pile of debris and bags, was sobbing softly. Jessica's determination sharpened into a singular focus. She couldn't let Rico win. In the struggle, Marcus gained the upper hand momentarily, knocking Rico against the brick wall. Jessica's resolve surged. This was her chance. She raced toward the woman, ready to help her escape. "Hold on, I'm coming," she called, as she reached down to grasp the woman's arm. It was a fleeting moment of hope, but the sound of an approaching tire screech cut through the tension like thunder. Jessica's heart sank. Were they too late? Had they drawn attention to themselves? Rico grunted and shoved Marcus aside, turning like a panther ready to pounce. And there, behind the swirl of chaos, headlights cut through the alley, illuminating everything with an harsh, unforgiving light. "No!" Rico growled, fists clenched as he glanced between Jessica and the new threat. The joy of victory hung on his lips, ready to be savored. "This isn't over," he snarled. But as fear rolled through Jessica's chest, another thought crept in: what lay beyond the headlights? Would it be salvation or something worse? She threw a hurried glance back at Marcus and the woman, weighed down by dread and adrenaline. "Whatever happens next, we face it together," she shouted. But time was running out. Just as she prepared to act, Rico charged, his shadow swallowing her whole once more. What new horror awaited them in the glare of those headlights? Would another enemy emerge, or would salvation finally arrive? The clash of chaos erupted as the blinding headlights washed over them, a spotlight illuminating the grim reality of the alley. Jessica felt time stretch, the instant dragging painfully as she wavered at the precipice of decision. The light flickered like hope, and in that moment, everything fell silent. Marcus's wide eyes searched for answers, while the woman, still trapped, held her breath in anticipation. "Get away from them!" A voice boomed from the headlights, framing a figure that stepped forward from the car. A police officer, his badge gleaming, authority radiating from him like heat. The officer's presence sliced through the tension like a knife. "Rico! Stop right there!" Jessica's heart surged as Rico paused. Fear danced across his face, eyes darting between the officer and the others. "You don't know what you're getting into," he hissed, the facade of bravado shattering under the weight of reality. "Last chance," the officer warned, drawing closer, weapon steady and poised. "Step away from them, and you won't get hurt." In that electrifying moment, hope flickered brighter. It was a palpable shift, each heartbeat pounding rhythmically in support of salvation as the shadows began to retreat. Rico's demeanor crumbled, fury morphing into desperation. "You won't take him from me," he shouted, pointing an accusatory finger at the boy. Jessica felt the weight of his words, a reminder that the battle was far from over. "He's not yours," she shouted back, her voice rising over the cacophony of fear. "Now!" the officer commanded, his voice unyielding. With a surge of adrenaline, Jessica surged forward, wrapping her hand around the woman's wrist, pulling her free from the debris. "Come on. We're getting out of here." Just as she freed the woman, Rico lunged, but the officer was quicker. The sound of a taser crackling filled the air, a zap followed by Rico's agonized shout as he collapsed, thrashing against the ground. The chaos twisted into order, the world erupted around them as sirens wailed, spinning a cocoon of safety. Jessica could hardly believe it. The nightmare was unraveling, pulling back like dark curtains. "It's okay, you're safe," she whispered to the boy, who stared wide-eyed, hope spilling into his features. Marcus squeezed her hand, relief flooding through him. The reality of their survival began to settle in, even as Rico's cries echoed behind. "Can you walk?" Jessica asked the woman, her heart racing. "I think so," the woman stammered, shock painted across her face. I didn't think anyone would come." Jessica wrapped her arms around the boy, drawing him closer, offering warmth amidst the chaos. "You're not alone anymore. We'll take you somewhere safe." The police officer hurried over, assessing the scene. "Are you all right?" he asked, concern woven into his expression as he radioed in for backup. "More than all right," Jessica responded, hope bursting free. They were together, alive, as the flickering lights filled the alley with warmth beneath the chilling night. Thank you for coming. As the relief of safety washed over them, the boy meekly whispered, Rico won't come back, will he? Jessica knelt before him, searching his eyes, determination before fear. No. He won't touch you again. You're safe with us, I promise. In that fleeting exchange, the bond between them strengthened, building resilience in the face of trauma. Together, they stepped into an uncertain future, but hope shimmered anew, lighting the path ahead. The patter of officers moved around them, words of reassurance wrapping like a warm blanket. Jessica turned to Marcus, and their eyes locked, a shared understanding binding them. They had crossed an abyss and emerged stronger. We did it, he said, awe thick in his voice. For him. For her, Jessica replied, swirling her gaze around the small group, now a constellation of kindred spirits united against darkness. As support vehicles arrived, flickering lights bathed them in kaleidoscopic colors. They would tell their stories, share their truths, and be heard. Yes, they had faced the abyss, and it had not consumed them. It had opened paths to honest connections and collective healing. As dawn broke, brushing the skyline with shades of gold, they stepped into that soft light in unison. It was a new day, with the promise of hope stretching into the horizon, a reminder that even in despair, light still found a way through. Let us go home, Jessica said, a soft smile breaking through the night as horrors, and together they walked forward, heartbeats harmonizing in unison, ready to embrace whatever came next. Now, before you click away, I have to say this: if you want more stories that push boundaries and ignite hope, you need to subscribe immediately. Make sure you don't miss out on our next exclusive adventure. Smash that like button now to keep the algorithm alive. And don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. Your voices are vital. Finally, instantly share this story with at least 5 friends who need a dose of inspiration, because together, we can create a world filled with empathy and courage. Don't wait even one more second. Take action now.